I'm Cass, and welcome to the Mind Your Being podcast. If you're new here, welcome. And if you're a returning listener, thank you so much. I really appreciate you being here and for your support of the podcast. With Mind Your Being, my goal is to create a space where we can explore what it truly means to look after our whole being. So the physical, the mental, and the emotional, especially through the midlife years and beyond. Now, with these episodes where I'm speaking to the health experts, I really want to share the awareness of the evidence-based information that we know today. And I want us all to come away with practical insights and tools and strategies that we can apply in our everyday life now. And I'd love to hear from you. What episodes are resonating and what would you like to hear more of? Feel free to message me on Instagram, Facebook, or using the contact form on our website at mindyourbeing.com.au. Our topic today is not a sexy area of health, but it is definitely one of the most important topics for all of us, especially if you're interested in trying to maintain your independence as we age. The topic is falls prevention. Now, you may be thinking, I'm too young for this right now, but I really encourage you to listen because this will definitely impact you at some point, and this episode will help you with caring for your aging loved ones, those family members or friends that are at risk right now. Falls can happen in an instant, and they have the potential to be really serious or even fatal. Even minor falls have the potential to really impact our confidence and our independence as we age. My guest today is Amy Wildner from the Wildmann Group. Amy has a degree in exercise science and a wealth of practical experience developing exercise rehabilitation programs. She has also completed a specialty in the prevention of falls and injuries in older people. Amy is a wealth of knowledge, and you'll come away from this episode with really clear, practical advice that you can implement now on how to identify the risk factors and the steps we can take to stay safe, strong, and independent as we age. Hi, Amy. Welcome to Mind Your Being.
Thank you very much for having me, Cass.
Thank you so much for making the time today. I really appreciate it. Let's get straight into it. Why is fall prevention something we should all be paying attention to regardless of our age?
Okay, well, a fall can happen quickly, and it's usually the result of something simple, such as a slip, trip, or stumble. And it can leave a long and lasting disability, or I even hate to say it, even death.
Wow.
So no matter what your age or ability.
That's a good point. I think a lot of people, like I'm 51, I think a lot of people listening and a lot of people my age will be thinking, why are you talking about falls prevention? It's too early for us. But one particular stat when I was listening to a podcast some time ago, it really got me interested in trying to educate people about falls awareness, because the stat that I heard was once you hit the age of 65, if you fall, which they say is pretty likely, and you break your hip or your femur, there's a 15 to 30% chance you might be dead within 12 months from having that fall. And I just thought, did I hear that right? That's so significant. And I don't think people often stop and think about, as you said, how debilitating a fall can be. And even if it's not affecting us now in midlife, most of us have aging parents or grandparents that we love. And I've asked you on here today to try and spread some awareness about the type of risk factors and also looking at what we can do to hopefully prevent more falls. So thank you again for coming on.
Absolutely.
So how common are falls, particularly among older adults, and what impact can they have on health and independence?
Mm-hmm. Well, figures show that 1 in 3 people over the age of 65 will have a fall each year. And as we get older, so there'll be 1 in 2 people who are over the age of 80 that will fall each year. Wow. And these figures are for non-fallers. So for those that have already had a fall, the numbers will increase even further. And the impact of the falls can be immediately resulting in injuries, so which are most commonly to the head and the hip, which can both result in a fracture.
Yeah.
But this then requires immobilisation and bed rest to allow for the healing process, which also has its own consequences, as sort of 10 days of bed rest can lead to a 25% loss in muscle strength.
Wow,
So,
10 days.
yes. So this muscle strength is what is needed to rise from a chair or rise from the toilet, maintain your balance, or enable your mobility to get around. So without these, we lose our independence and we become reliant on others to perform our activities of daily living.
That's such a significant 25% in 10 days.
Mm-hmm. So if you're already feeling it tough to get up out of a chair without using your arms, or you really have to push to get out of the armchair using your arms, then that's already an indication that you're at a falls risk.
What would you say are some of the most common risk factors that increase someone's chance of falling?
Well, it's definitely muscle weakness, especially that needed for your strength and your balance. Poor vision is another one, including both your eyesight as well as the lighting of darker areas. Multiple medications. So if you're on 4 or more medications, including supplements, that can increase your risk of sustaining a fall. And slip and trip hazards such as rugs, mats, and even pets that come around underneath your feet, as well as poor fitting shoes and worn grip.
What was that one, sorry?
Worn grip on the bottom of your shoes.
Oh, yes, yeah. Then get really slippery.
We all have our old favourites, and generally they wear out mostly on the ball of the foot and the heel of the foot. And if there is some wet weather or some wet ground, then...
Wow, yeah. Even in your own driveway, I guess, going to get your mail and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
So we need to be checking footwear regularly, replacing it regularly. So can you explain how specific physical, medical, or even environmental factors can contribute to falls?
So falls can result from sort of pain symptoms, such as that from arthritis, or sided weaknesses, such as a stroke, which can lead to physical imbalances and modifications to your movement and your mobility biomechanics or your techniques, so which can also be quite hard to correct if they're left for any length of time. So specific medications also, such as antidepressants and sleeping tablets, have side effects that can lead to a fall. And as we age, the medications are metabolised slower within our body and stay in the system for longer. So regular medication reviews by your GP or pharmacist are a good way to manage that. Also, health conditions such as diabetes and its associated peripheral neuropathy, which is a dullness of your sensations of extremities, so your feet and your hands. So especially with the loss of sensation in your feet, this can lead to incorrect foot placement, whether it be a tree root or something like that, and the loss of balance and your stability, which will result in a fall. And lastly, sort of walking sticks and mobility aids. These need to be the correct height to apply the support and the balance in the right position. Otherwise, their safety is quite limited.
I hadn't thought about the foot placement, how you're explaining that. And what about getting the right height for the walking aids? When a doctor prescribes a walking aid, where do people go? Like, who helps them get the right height?
Well, so if it is a medical professional, then they will get the right height. Or if it's at a mobility store, they'll get the right height. But if it's, say, grandma found grandpa's old walking stick and she wants to use that one because it's available, that stick will be too tall for grandma. and even the opposite way around. So if the stick is too tall, then you won't be able to apply the pressure because it will be too high. And if the stick is too short, then you'll apply the pressure too low and you'll have already lost your balance.
Simple adjustments to improve the safety. They're things you don't think about them, I guess, until you get to that stage. But I think it's good to be aware. And as we were talking about before, people have aging parents and grandparents. So these are things that we can be mindful of for our family and friends. Is there a particular way for people to assess their own falls risk or that of a loved one?
There is a basic home safety checklist which can be found in a resource titled Staying Active and on Your Feet, which is provided by the New South Wales Government, and this can be ordered online. Otherwise, the Wildmann Group do conduct an extensive home hazard falls risk assessment, both privately and through My Aged Care home care packages, looking at not only the home environment, but also the way in which you perform your activities of daily living.
So this is your group, your organisation that you work in with your husband, is that right?
Yes, so we specialise to keep older people independently living safely in their own homes.
So you have your background as an exercise scientist, and does your husband have the building maintenance background?
Yes, and plumbing as well.
Okay.
So, yeah.
For people who contact the Wildmann Group and they're interested in staying home independent for longer, what does an assessment look like?
We'll look at the home hazards within the house, whether it's sort of trip hazards or whether it's mats that don't have a rubber backing or a non-slip backing. We'll look at access ways of steps leading into or out of the building, whether there's required for a handrail or a grab rail. We'll look at the mobility of the individual to identify if there's strength or balance weaknesses. We'll look at the medication side of things, looking at the number of medications, types of medications. We also look at how they keep the home environment, whether there's handprints on the walls to identify if they're furniture walking or...
So comprehensive risk assessment and then providing whatever suggestions.
Yes, looking at their footwear as well. And
that's a great service. Comprehensive, or like a one-stop shop for people. That's great. Let's talk a bit about prevention and being proactive. What are some practical everyday things we can all do to reduce our risk of falling?
So in addition to the home hazard assessments, you need to keep up to date with regular eyesight checks to ensure that your glasses meet your current prescription. Bifocals can be quite challenging to adjust your focus between reading or mobilisation, so it's best to have single lens glasses. Regular medication reviews with your GP or pharmacist will keep you up to date with the medications that your body still requires and in the dosage that they need. Wear safe and supportive footwear, both indoors and out.
That's important. Yeah, maybe not the loose slippers inside that aren't going to support around your ankle because you could slip out of them.
Absolutely. So slippers are one of the main concerns. So if we do wear our supportive footwear that is tied up or velcroed around the home rather than whether it's socks, slippers that don't have grip, yes, we want to ensure that we've got enough support, stability and grip so that we don't slide anywhere.
With prevention in mind, how important is exercise when it comes to preventing falls, and are there certain types of movement that are particularly effective?
Yes, exercise is extremely important. The Community Care Best Practice Guidelines, put together by the Australian Commission on Safety and Quality in Healthcare, states that exercise is the most important factor when it comes to falls prevention. So it is the leading intervention for single interventions that are effective in reducing falls, for multiple interventions, in reducing the rate of falls and for multiple interventions effective in reducing the risk of falls. So the exercise must be of a sufficient dose, so up to 3 hours per week to have an effect.
Mm-hmm.
The exercise must target balance, strength, and mobility. The balance exercise must provide a moderate to high challenge of balance, and the intervention must be ongoing as the falls prevention benefits are rapidly lost when exercise is ceased.
So what you're saying is at all ages across our lifespan, it is beneficial to try and maintain some kind of exercise program or routine that involves the strength, stability, and balance.
Because we all stop training our balance after we grow up from being a child. We tend not to walk along the top of brick fences anymore. We tend not to walk sort of in tandem or like a balance beam or along the curb. We stop training our balance. So therefore, the old adage of if you don't use it, you lose it is very true in this occasion.
With regard to strength, would you be advising people to incorporate some kind of resistance training every week?
Yes, definitely. So the resistance training can be as little as body weight. It can involve resistance bands, or it can involve, say, hand weights or ankle weights. So all of those will provide added weight or added resistance to your exercise.
What other strategies or tools can help people maintain or even improve their balance and coordination as we get older?
So adherence to such interventions that are proven to prevent falls, so fitting them into their everyday routine, whether it be attending a number of classes a week, such as our Postural Stability program, or performing a routine at home, or even exercise snacking throughout the day to accumulate their 3 hours a week. Interventions to prevent falls can only be effective if people attend, participate, and adhere to them.
So use it so you don't lose it.
Absolutely.
Listeners of the podcast may be familiar with the term exercise snacking because in episodes 4 and 5 with Dr. Justin Keogh, he introduced that term for us. But for people who didn't listen to those episodes, can you tell us what you mean by exercise snacking?
So it's just breaking your exercises down into, say, if you're boiling the kettle, you can stand there and try and do some balance exercises just while the kettle is boiling. Or if you're brushing your teeth, doing some while you're doing a functional everyday task, but it's making it a routine. So it's, whether you like doing it of a morning when you're brushing your teeth or whether you like to do it of an evening. So that some people have more energy of a morning, so they'd like to do it then. So it's just fitting it in between different appointments or different parts of the day, whether it's breakfast, lunch and dinner.
Kind of creating a habit by attaching it to an everyday task that you don't think about, attaching it to that everyday task, in time it will become a habit. You won't have to think about doing the balance exercise either because they'll sort of go together. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, yep, absolutely. So, any form of balance exercise is really good to do in the kitchen because it's a nice, high, stable surface. And you can hold on and it's not going to go anywhere. And then sort of you could do different abdominal exercises while you're, say, sitting in the car at the traffic lights.
We talked a little bit before about the home environment can be another big risk factor. What are some simple changes people can make at home to create a safer environment?
Okay, so people can remove mats and rugs and trip hazards wherever possible. I know some people do get attached to the rugs and the mats, but if we can take those out of there, then we've got a nice even surface. We can also have a night light to have on during the night time to light the way to the bathroom so that we, with our eyes adjusting to the darkness, then we're not going to stumble into maybe a door frame or a piece of furniture. Handrails, especially on staircases, so ensuring handrails are on both sides of the staircase. And or a grab rail in the shower is a good idea as well, so that we can hold on with one hand while we're sort of washing with the other or reaching for our toes of one leg. And a grab rail in combination with your towel rail is another good one. So the fixings of a towel rail are not made to hold a person's weight.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Very flimsy.
Yes. So if you're grabbing hold of the towel rail when you're getting out of the shower or anything like that to hold your balance
body.
or stability, there are grab rails fixed differently, more securely to hold more of your body weight than just a towel rail.
So they would hold the towel, but because they're fixed more strongly, they're able to support your body weight as well.
Yes. So you would have the grab rail above and you'd have the towel rail below. So it's still, going to take up the same amount of space, and it's not going to involve, any more fixtures and things like that. It's just going to go deeper, more securely into the structures of the wall. So also pendant alarms are a very good idea in being able to have a button that you can press, whether it be around your neck or on your wrist, that will alert the family that you need assistance, or if there's no family, then it's the medical services. And carrying your mobile phone with you at all times. So that means, like, if you're going out into the garden or backyard to hang up the washing, having it with you there, and not placing it on the kitchen bench, because you're unable to reach the top of the kitchen bench from the floor if you have had a fall.
Yeah.
So without that, you sort of can't call for help.
What about in the instance where you mentioned someone has a walking frame or a walking stick? Do people make use of some kind of bum bag or something? Like, what? How are they holding their phone? Do you mean just in the other hand, or
No,
is there
whether
something?
it's always in pockets, or so not carrying it physically in your hand. So if you're doing the washing, have it in the washing basket or pockets, or even sort of little carry bags that go around you. You can get sort of simple straps that you can affix to your mobile phones as well, that can go over across your shoulders or body.
Yeah. So you mentioned how important it is to have the right footwear and to be checking our footwear regularly, and how important lighting can be, something that a lot of us probably don't even think of on a general basis. But did you have anything else to add about the importance of those when we're considering trying to prevent falls?
So they both play a significant role in preventing falls. So footwear, we need to ensure that they have a firm heel collar and arch support. So the heel collar is what comes around behind your heel, and that helps to provide stability and prevent some of the rolling in or the rolling out of different ankles, so the pronation and supination. So this arch support and heel collar will do that. Ensuring that there is a textured grip on the sole, so which means you've got the little channels or zigzags or grooves and things like that, especially under the heel to prevent slipping. And we want to make sure that the heel is quite broad. But also having laces or Velcro to ensure that the shoe is secured to the foot and does not flop around. So some of the ones that are slip-on that are elasticized, over time the elastic deteriorates and these become more floppy loose on the foot, yes. And having a thin, firm midsole so that you can feel the ground underneath your foot.
Right.
And you can feel, whether the foot is all the way on a step or you've stepped on a rock and things like that. You don't want the midsole to be too thick so you don't have that sensation underfoot.
That's a good point.
Yeah, and then we come to the lighting. So it's not only having a light on at night time in order to see how to get to the bathroom, but also in stairwells and entry and exits from the home. where the lighting changes from artificial to natural lighting. Having correct lighting will help us see the perception of depth. So the transitions require a significant eye adjustment in focus and depth perception.
I guess that's especially important if you walk out your front door and you have like a porch or a step or something. So just being mindful to have quite bright light on that area. Is that what you mean?
Yes, and if it's made of bricks and you have brick steps, it's quite often hard to see where the edge of a step is and the start of the next step. So even having like a tape along the edge or a painted edge on the steps will help with that perception of the depth and the edge of where the step is for foot placement.
So that's why a lot of public places and steps and like a train station and that, they have that yellow fluoro grip strip at the edge of the step.
Yes, and often it's a bit more raised, so you have that feeling underneath the foot as well, so that you can feel, where it comes up and as you're mobilising upwards.
Wow, there's a lot of things that I think we take for granted. It's good to see some people are thinking about these things in the community,
It's not big events that cause the falls. It is just little, slips, trips, foot placement, and it's more in a familiar environment where you take less care. So when you're out in the community, you're sort of more observant of, the environment around you. But if you're home, rushing around, trying to get jobs done or before visitors come and things like that, then that's when we take less care. And it's just a simple thing where you can fall.
What would you say to someone who's maybe had a fall or who's becoming afraid of falling? How do we strike a balance between being cautious and staying active? Because as you mentioned before, if we get too cautious and we don't use our muscles, then we're going to lose that function or that ability to use our muscles. So what's your advice for people?
I'd recommend building strength, mobility and balance in a supportive group environment. So here you can see that there are others with the same concerns, and you can observe others and their capabilities and see that they're all working towards improvements bit by bit. So with loss of confidence, your mobility changes, and so does your fear of falling. You become more hesitant and more tentative, and your vision begins to focus more on the ground when you're mobilising around. So I can recommend keeping your eyes up and scanning ahead when you're walking, and you look for obstacles, and by scanning ahead, not looking directly down, this gives you more time and more space to react and mobilise around the obstacles.
And also keeping your head up to a degree is going to help your balance, I imagine.
Yes, absolutely.
And the other thing I was thinking about as well is it's not just, we talked a lot about the physical aspect of trying to prevent falls, but when people have a fall or if they have a near fall and start to become quite cautious, the other effect is on our mental health. As you said before, they can be so debilitating. So if people start getting scared or nervous of a fall, they might start to isolate from social activities a bit more, which can lead to increased anxiety and sometimes depression. So it's looking at the overall effects of why it's so important, what we're talking about here today, to try and maybe encourage people to have a bit more of a thought about, okay, what are some of the adjustments I can make in the home, or if it's not for us now, for our parents or grandparents?
Yeah, so having that reduced confidence, you are less likely to go out as often, you're less likely to mobilise as much. So even if you do go for a walk, instead of going for a walk around the block, it tends to reduce to just for a walk up and down the street. And then even it reduces to just going out to the mailbox and back. if we can continue to get people to go out into the community and still perform the physically strength, that will also help with the confidence and the mental health. And even socialising in a group environment.
Yeah, that's great.
Having, social interaction.
You're getting that benefit as well, which people would be aware. That's so important for our mental health, and it's so important as you age to have that. Well, not just as you age, I guess across our whole lives, we're wired for social connection. So you're at least getting that group activity, an opportunity to socialise with people in the community.
Yes, so all of our postural stability programs, even though we have an hour of exercise, after each class we have a social opportunity and we catch up with everybody, have a cuppa and a chat, and I think the social element is more enjoyed than the exercise element, but
you get the overall benefit.
You get the benefit of both worlds.
So just on that, you mentioned these postural stability classes.
Mm-hmm.
You're running some in our local community in the Illawarra. Did you want to tell listeners a bit more about what you're doing with those classes and where you're holding them?
So we run them in the Illawarra community, so at some of the clubs. So we're in Woonona, Balgownie, Albion Park and Warilla. So it's an hour of exercise focusing on strength and balance. So some of the exercises are performed in the chair, some of them are standing up behind a chair, so we've got support the whole way through. And there's a whole range of different abilities, so we can also modify individual people's programs so that they can be seated at all times, or we can make them harder to make them more challenging to progress them even further.
Are there any other resources or programs that are available to support older adults that you can think of?
We also conduct the home hazard falls prevention assessments. We have home strength and balance visits and programming. So that's coming to your home to do individualised sessions for those that are less able or unable to come out into the community. And these can be provided through My Aged Care home care packages. There's also the Staying Active and On Your Feet resource from the New South Wales Government, which can be ordered online via the Active and Healthy website. And also check with your local health districts. They run a 7-week Stepping On program in which you can self-refer if you're over the age of 65, independently mobile, so that means you don't have a walking aid, and are of sound cognition.
Okay, so the local health districts, and what kind of things do they do in that Stepping On 7-week program?
So they'll do a range of strength and balance exercises. There'll be a cuppa and a chat, and they'll also do some education in regards to some of the risk factors associated with falls.
At the start of the conversation, we were talking about how important it is to think about falls prevention in the community, and because it's so important, it can help support our independence, our mobility and our quality of life as we age. If you could leave listeners with just one message about fall prevention, what would it be?
A fall happens extremely quickly. There is no warning, and it can cause debilitating effects. So you do need to start now, especially with exercise, and to reduce any of the risks that you've identified from within our conversation today.
Yeah, especially like, as you said, start now, midlife, have an assessment. What are your goals for independent living as you age? You know, if you're not doing any strength or resistance training now, maybe find a program or find a version of resistance training that suits you. And it's never I've seen a lot on social media recently of even 70, 80, 90-year-olds starting a resistance training program. And I'm just in awe of them, but it's never too old to start, is it?
No, you're never too old, and you just need to find the type of exercise that you enjoy. There's lots of different types out there, and it's just finding the one that suits you, because then you're going to enjoy it and you're going to participate and you're going to continue that on.
Because the podcast is called Mind Your Being, I wanted to ask you if you could share with us 3 things. They might be practices, rituals, it could be a particular food that you use personally to mind your being.
I stay active, which helps my brain function. So for me, it's a mental thing to clear my head, as well as sort of the physical benefit that comes along with it. I eat everything in moderation, and I try to make a little time for me. So that little time can be, whether it's your exercise is your thing, or whether it's watching a particular thing on the television, or whether it's going for a stroll or sitting in a quiet room or meditating. So find the thing that is yours and keeps you going, and just spend a little time when you can doing your thing.
That's so important. I think everyone needs to sometimes. We get so busy, but I get overwhelmed if I don't sometimes take some time out for myself. So, yeah, I think it's really important. And as you said, find how you want to spend that quiet, or doesn't even have to be quiet time for some people, but how you want to spend that time.
Yeah, sometimes it's an escape, away from the noisy kids, or, sometimes it can be just a catch up with a friend to have a cuppa.
Well, thank you. Love those. For people interested in hearing more about your organisation or the classes that you run in the community, where can they go to learn more about you and your programs, or even to request a falls risk assessment?
So we run classes through the school terms at Albion Park RSL on Wednesdays, the Warilla Sports Club on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and Woonona Bowling Club on Fridays. You can visit our website or our Facebook page for further details, or feel free to email me directly. The email address is on the website.
And we'll link to the website for Wildmann Group and your Facebook page and some of the other resources that we mentioned in our conversation. We'll link to that in the show notes for the episode. Thank you so much, Amy. I think this has been really helpful.
Thank you very much, Cass, for inviting me to come along and for helping me to get the word out about falls prevention.
Yeah, no, thank you. It's really important, and yeah, the more people that maybe start thinking about it now in midlife, hopefully we can bring the numbers of the falls down as years go on. Thank you again.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Mind Your Being podcast. If you enjoyed it or found it helpful, please follow the show wherever you get your podcasts and share it with a friend who might enjoy it too. If you have a moment, please leave a quick review. It really helps others discover the podcast. Thanks again for being here. Take care, and until next time, mind your being.